As soon as somebody says they're a
You're the
centrist,
only person in the world who can be a centrist, or
in the online world, give me one.
Me.
Actually, I can think. Well, I don't know. I'd have to go through your political views, but give me like one other media guy who's like a centrist too. When I was on Piers Morgan and Dave Smith was like, yeah, I think I'm gonna have to support Trump. Wow, go figure. When Tim Pool was like, yeah, I think I'm gonna have to support Trump. Wow, go figure. Every single one of these centrist dudes, all of them came out and supported Trump. Isn't that crazy? You'd think if they were centrist, wouldn't it be like 50-50 or at least like 30-70 instead of every single one coming out to support Donald Trump?
okay. Well, if you want to apply that logic, that doesn't that not make you centrist because you voted for Kamala?
I have different beliefs that could put me on the left or the right, depending upon what you're looking at. I think that trans people are real. I think that making medication available to even minors who are trans, I think could be valuable for people that, if you can figure out who's actually trans and want to transition earlier, I think that's fine. But I also think that like men are men and women are women. And I think there are real biological differences between the two. You can't just like lump them all together and say they're the same. I think it's really dumb. I have a variety of opinions that could put me on the left or the right, depending upon which like constellation of beliefs you're picking from. But most people that call themselves centrist are just 100% aligned with this anti-establishment Trump dick suck mentality, and that's it. Again, the problem is the true enemies are people like you, okay? Unironically though, like you're no, but because you're so obsessed with trying to both sides everything, and it's like it's an impossible world to live in, because then people like you look at me like, aren't you kind of biased, Destiny? No, I don't think I am biased compared to the party that doesn't even acknowledge the results of the 2020, 2024, or 2016 election. Donald Trump still thinks all three elections were rigged, and you're asking me if I'm the biased one, right? Like in 2016, he said that 3 million illegal immigrants voted with no evidence. Put together a commission to find it, couldn't find it, disbanded the commission. In 2020, he says that the election was rigged. They launched 60 plus court cases to try to prove that, lost basically every single one. In 2024, Donald Trump was still saying that there was like evidence of rigging at the Philadelphia place in Detroit. They were bringing no evidence was ever good presented for any of this. None of it was just proven, right? And then he's like, well, don't you think you're being a little bit biased? And say, no, the right is full of fucking liars right now and crazy people. So I don't think that I'm biased by calling that out. Nobody on the right will criticize Donald Trump substantively for anything. That's why you can't even give me a single example. I can rattle off 5 or 10 criticisms of Kamala Harris off the top of my head for things that I don't like. You will never find the same criticisms for people on the right. Like, it just doesn't happen. I challenge you to do any of it. Other than like, they'll give these like very like, well, I don't like that Donald Trump is, kind of mean sometimes. Like, they'll give some shit like that, but they won't disagree with them on any policy.
Thank you for saying that I'm part of the problem, but I do think this is exactly why it's important to talk to both sides.
Yeah, and I regret a lot of it. This is not valuable. The talking to both sides is not valuable, because then it gives the air of illusion that both sides are somehow coming to some middle ground agreement. There is no coming to a middle ground or agreement with people on the right who think that the last election was still stolen.
Why do you think young men are becoming more conservative?
I mean, the right has done a really good job at targeting young men for content, at least from what I see online, and the left has kind of done a poor job at targeting young men, and it's probably pushed a lot of, especially young white men, away.
It seems like you have a decent amount of like influence. Why hasn't that kind of like translated in terms of like polling? Or why do you feel like so many other like young men are trending towards different voices?
This isn't even really necessarily to do with men, but I think in the left, when there are power structures, they're very quick to attack the entire group that they view as being at the top of that power structure, and then it makes every single person involved in that group feel like it's not a party for them, So whether they're attacking white people or attacking America or attacking men, you just kind of get this, or wealthy people or whatever. I think too much of the left is focused on like chastising or punishing or criticizing, rather than saying like, like, hey, this is a majority power group. Like, here's how other people can, kind of like rise up too, instead of just like relentlessly attacking them.
I saw like your recent like interview with Piers Morgan, and I think just in general, right, men tend to care more about economic issues. And I think you made the claim that the left has righted the ship in metrics like inflation, unemployment compared to other countries. But if that's the case, why didn't young men vote for the left in this election?
I think people kind of care about economic issues. People care about what they think about the economic issues. And for a long time, the right has basically been allowed to operate, with impunity in terms of just lying and telling people how they feel about certain things. And there definitely was like huge inflation rates in the beginning parts of the Biden administration. And cumulatively, a lot of that inflation is still felt. But then when you add on to that, all of the basically fake news that the right is allowed to sell on all of their platforms over and over again, and nobody really calls them out on it, then people are going to have a worse view of how things are going than they actually are.
What's like the lies? What are like the fake news? Like, what are the specific examples?
Literally almost everything. I mean, if you get into the specifics, if I argue with somebody, for instance, if I say like, oh, where did inflation come from? Literally no conservative will acknowledge that COVID was even a thing in terms of being a huge influencing factor for inflation. A lot of people have dumb ideas around like macroeconomics. They'll say like, oh, like the Federal Reserve is why inflation happens. And we need to get rid of the Federal Reserve, ignoring the fact that Donald Trump, enjoyed low interest rates under his administration and will continue to push for low interest rates when he's coming in. They'll say things like tariffs will help control inflation, even though tariffs are an added tax across our entire import market. It will increase inflation.
So I guess like, how has like the left done things differently than like the right? Like how can like the left, for example, take ownership or credit for the economic issues like improving, right? Because I think this is important to outline, because you're right. Because for example, right, a lot of young men, I think, tend to view the right as being able to right the ship better when it comes to economic policies. So there must be some reason for that.
Yeah, I mean, it's a totally fantastical delusion. It's just not true. Democrats have always had to come in and right the ship from failing conservative administrations. Obama had to do it. Obama had to come in after the 2007, 2008 housing collapse. Everybody remembers this was a worldwide economic meltdown. Obama came in, righted the ship. The economy was doing pretty good his second term and continued to do good. And then Trump comes in and all of a sudden everybody's like, oh my God, amazing economy under Trump. It was amazing for the last 4 years of Obama and continued on through Trump. And Trump only had to be more amazing by doing even more deficit spending. He cut taxes. He didn't pair it with spending cuts. He spent money like crazy. And then at the end of Trump's administration, you had COVID, which left the entire world economy again in shambles. And then Biden comes in. We've got the American Rescue Plan. The United States is outperforming every other economy in the world and nobody cares. And now Trump is going to come in again. And it's probably going to be Trump taking credit for, oh my God, look at all this infrastructure we're building. Yeah, because Biden passed the infrastructure bill. Oh my God, we finally got, manufacturing back from China for microprocessors. Yeah, because Biden passed the CHIPS Act.
Would you be willing to admit if, like, let's say Trump absolutely changes America in 2024 in this next term, that he's actually a good president, or would the past events in your eyes always cloud that judgment?
I mean, I'm always going to rate somebody on the whole, but the problem is that like Trump, the next 4 years are going to be pretty good for America. Like, I think Biden has set us up very well. But now all of these like Trump dick sucks that were saying things like the GDP doesn't matter, that doesn't capture my life, or the stock market only matters for billionaires. All these same dipshits are going to be spamming all-time highs on the stock market because of Donald Trump. Oh, look at the GDP growth, blah, blah, blah. All these same people who are like, why aren't the prices falling? I don't understand what the rate of change is. I don't know what that means when we say that inflation, are all going to be saying like, prices haven't changed at all. Like, actually, year-over-year inflation is actually so good, and I don't actually care if the prices fall, right? So it's, it's like the economy is probably going to do pretty well for the next 4 years. We're coming out of, again, another economic catastrophe that happened under a conservative. And as things go well, Trump's going to want to take credit for all of it. And then people are going to come back to me. They're going to go, well, look, once you admit at least that the economy ran well under Donald Trump, and I'll be like, yeah, I guess. But I mean, of course, it was always going to, as long as he doesn't fuck things up from where Biden left it.
You made a couple of controversial statements during the Trump assassination attempt. Do you feel like you still stand by your statement that you have no sympathy for the bystander firefighter that was killed?
Yeah.
Why's that?
You're going to like an insane rally from a dude who is like championing violence against the United States. Like, yeah, if violence or whatever happens, then I mean, fuck it. I mean, it should happen.
You feel like it was justified that he was killed then?
No, I don't think you should ever kill people for political reasons in the United States. I don't think that's good. But I'm not going to feel bad for you if you end up getting killed at some crazy fucking rally where you're cheering on some authoritarian lunatic. That's
Don't
fucking
you think
wild.
someone can also make then the argument that then you should be canceled for having sort of statements like that?
Okay, they can try and cancel me then, I guess. I already get like 50 million death threats.
That's why Tucker Carlson has like an audience too, right? Is that
hold on, wait. This has nothing to do. What I'm saying is Tucker Carlson had no credibility because he blatantly and knowingly lied to his audience in order to get a politician elected. That has nothing to do with what we're talking about right now.
So I guess you still stand by that statement then?
Yeah.
Okay.